This is Emily Brownell, Wisconsin Facet's Early Learning Literacy and Early Childhood Specialist, and I will be your presenter today. On behalf of the entire Wisconsin Facet staff, I'd like to thank you for joining us. Our webinar today is Introduction to Special Education. This workshop contains basic information on special education rules and regulations, the special education process for educating children with disabilities. So this PowerPoint is a complement to the booklet and DVD, also by the same name, An Introduction to Special Education, and was produced by Wisconsin Statewide Parent Educator Initiative, otherwise known as WISPE, which is the parent grant funded by the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction. This presentation is a collaborative effort of WISPE and Wisconsin Facets to provide parents with a basic tool to explain the special education process in easy-to-understand terms. And first, I want to start with welcome to special education, and that you will hear many new words. If you don't know what they mean, feel free to ask. The booklet, as well as on the Department of Public Instruction website, is some acronyms and lists of terms that will be found in special education. So some children who are having problems learning in school may need extra help through special education support. Special education is for children who have been identified with a disability. If your child has a disability, special education can help your child learn. Special education means instruction that is specially designed to meet the unique needs of a child with a disability. Federal laws require public schools to provide special education to children who need it. Your local school district can help you find the most appropriate educational options for your child. The Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, otherwise known as IDEA, is the federal law that provides your child access to services needed to assist them in meeting their educational goals. It includes all the legal requirements for providing special education to children that have been identified with a disability. To find out more information about the federal law, you can go to idea.ed.gov and you can find information on that website. The Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA, states that all children with disabilities must receive a free and appropriate public education, otherwise known as FAPE. This means that special education services are provided at no cost to families. What is appropriate for one child will likely be different than what is appropriate for others. Special education meets the unique needs of each child. For example, even two students that are both identified with autism, depending on their degree of disability, their amount and type of services can look different. Some may be served in a regular education classroom, while others might need more support in a small group or resource room. So all services are delivered with the intent of helping you to prepare your child for further education, employment, and independent living. Special education is not just a curriculum, but a process of determining what is appropriate for your child and then providing it in the most meaningful way. This is what makes special education individualized for each child. Special education is a 5-step process, beginning with referral. School districts often identify preschool children with special needs through early community screenings, like Child Find. Head Start or other early learning community settings may also refer a child to be evaluated. you may already know or suspect that your child may need special education services. A referral may come from parents or guardians, medical professionals, like your doctor, teachers, or someone else from the school district. Anyone who cares about the child can make a referral for special education. The parent must be notified before any referral is made. And if you'd like more information on the referral, you can always go to Special Education in Plain Language, page 11, and that will have information about what the law says with referral. So this slide gives a brief listing of what your referral letter should contain. This is also found on page 3 of the booklet Introduction to Special Education. A referral can be made at any time of the year during normal school business hours, excluding holidays. It is always important to put all communication with the school in writing so you have a record of what you requested and also a date to refer back to so you can keep track of the timeline. In your referral, include information to explain why you think your child might need more support or services at school. Any questions so far? The second step is evaluation for whether a child qualifies for special education. There are many different kinds of tests and ways to evaluate a child, and schools benefit from having all different kinds of information to assist them in completing the evaluation process. Once the school has received a referral, they will send the parent a consent form to sign. If you don't understand something, call the school and ask for more explanation of what will happen next. You may also contact another parent to provide support with understanding the special education process. Contact information for WISPE, Wisconsin Facets, Alianza, and Disability Rights Wisconsin are listed at the end of this presentation. Those are, in Wisconsin, some of the parent support programs or agencies or organizations. So this picture shows the timeline that the IEP team follows the first time that a child is referred for special education. So if you see at the bottom, within 30 calendar days, if the child is found to be eligible as a child with a disability, within 30 calendar days of that finding, the IEP team must hold a meeting to develop an IEP and determine the child's placement. And the same timeline is followed if a child is reevaluated and determined to continue to be a child with a disability. Existing information may be enough for you and the school to make the determination that your child is in need of special education. You may be asked to share more information about your child. Tests may be conducted, and your child may be observed to get a complete picture of how your child is doing in school. The reason for the evaluation is to decide if your child is eligible for special education. To be eligible, the team must answer yes to both of these questions. Does the child have an impairment? Does the child need special education services? When the testing is finished, you will be invited to the Individualized Education Program, or IEP, team meeting. The third step is the development of an Individualized Education Program, or IEP. It is at an IEP team meeting or series of meetings where the team discusses the evaluation and determines whether a child qualifies for special education services. You, as a parent, are an important team member along with the school staff. Your participation in these meetings will help the school determine what is the best way to meet your child's needs. If the time set up for the meeting is not convenient for you, or something comes up that you are unable to attend, you have the right to ask that the meeting be held at a time when you are able to attend. The school will try to schedule a time that will work for you and the other IEP members within regular school hours. It is important to talk with your child's teachers before the meeting. Bring a list of your questions or concerns. You can use the worksheets in the back of the booklet in Introduction to Special Education to assist you. Some parents find it stressful to go to an IEP team meeting. Bringing someone with you may help. You can bring an expert or someone who knows your child to the IEP team meeting. We have talked about what leads up to the IEP team meeting. Let's look at who all participates on the IEP team. First, you, the parent, and you're an equal partner with the school staff on the IEP team. Your child can participate whenever possible, but it is required when the team plans for life after high school, starting at age 14, that a child starts attending their IEP meetings. An LEA, or local education agency, who's usually a school psychologist, principal, or a teacher. The child's regular education teacher. A special education teacher. Someone who can explain the tests your child took, which could be the same as one of them listed already. And for a student in transition age, 14 through 21, someone from each agency that will provide services to prepare the child for life after high school. And then other people invited by the parent or school that can share knowledge about the child or have special expertise. And a special note with the LEA representative, they must have the authority to commit resources. At the meeting, the team will talk about all the evaluation information. Any results from tests will be shared and your child's strengths and needs will be discussed. This meeting needs to be held within 60 days after you return your written permission. If it is decided that your child is eligible for special education, the team will provide an evaluation report and prepare a written plan. You may need more time to read the report and talk with others before you feel comfortable with your child's evaluation or writing the educational plan called the IEP. If you feel you need more time to study the reports or to ask questions about all the evaluations, you can ask the IEP team to wait before writing the IEP. You may also ask the school to hold another meeting within the timeline to finish writing the plan so that your child's educational needs can be supported. The IEP team must write the IEP within 30 days after the evaluation is completed. Remember the timeline that was shown on slide 10 about those dates. So the IEP is a one-year plan. These are the areas that your child's IEP will cover. So it tells you about your child's school needs, the present level of academic achievement and functional performance of your child, what your child's annual learning goals are for the year. It'll tell what special education and related services the school will provide your child, and it will also tell you when and how often and where your child will receive these services. You have the right to ask how your child is making progress on the annual goals. You also have the right to know when and for how long your child will not participate in learning in the regular education classroom with their non-disabled peers. Transitions for our children from class to class and grade to grade are ongoing during their school years. But when our children turn 14, schools are required to invite the student to participate in the IEP meeting and write a transition plan for what the child wants to do after high school. There's a lot more information to learn about transition and how to plan for it. So if you want more information about this area, please contact your school district or someone from the agencies providing this workshop so we can help assist you in learning what you need to do to prepare your child for life after high school. The fourth step in the process is placement, which is based on your child's IEP and takes into account what your child should be learning. The setting with the most appropriate special education and related services is called the Least Restrictive Environment, or LRE. Placement means where your child will receive services. It's the type of special program and location are defined by the IEP team as a resource room, self-contained classroom, regular education classroom with peers. As much as possible, a child with a disability should go to the same school with children without disabilities. However, sometimes this is not possible and the child's IEP can't be carried out in the same school. The parents should be involved with all the discussions about placement. The IEP team will consider other placement options as close to home as possible that can provide the services the child needs. After the IEP meeting, you will be asked to sign consent before your child receives special education for the first time. Signing the IEP means you attended the meeting. Even if you don't agree with everything on the IEP, you still need to sign it so they know you participated. You may revoke or take back your consent at any time if you decide this is not the right program for your child. Consent is defined in Law 34 CFR 300.9 as follows. A. The parent has been fully informed of all information relevant to the activity for which consent is sought in his or her native language or other mode of communication. B. The parent understands and agrees in writing to the carrying out of the activity for which his or her consent is sought, and the consent describes that activity and lists the records, if any, that will be released and to whom. And the parent understands that the granting of consent is voluntary on the part of the parent and may be revoked at any time. And if a parent revokes consent, that revocation is not retroactive, which means that it doesn't negate an action that had occurred after the consent was given and before the consent was revoked. So after you give your consent to the school, your child's special education services will begin. When the IEP plan is complete, you may give a copy to anyone that works with your child. All of your child's teachers can read the IEP and should know what special accommodations are written in the IEP to provide services for your child. Usually, the special education teacher will share the information with the other teachers. Students are encouraged to know about their disability and what their IEP accommodations are to build their self-advocacy skills and learn how to request help when needed. Your child's teachers will also want to communicate with you along the way. Be available and stay involved. This is a good way to share daily concerns, stay informed, and build positive relationships with the people who care for your child every day. The final step in the special education process is the annual review. Your child's IEP will be reviewed at least once annually to determine if services are appropriate, if the goals are being reached or should be changed, and if any additional needs have been identified. You may review your child's IEP as often as needed, but at least once a year to make sure your child is receiving the best possible combination of services to help him or her achieve their educational goal. Each student receiving special education services are re-evaluated for eligibility at least once every 3 years unless you and the school agree another evaluation is not needed. An IEP meeting will still be held each year to review the child's IEP. An example of how a student may not need to be reevaluated as often because their disability hasn't changed and their needs are still the same. So to review the timeline. So the school district has 15 business days, Monday through Friday, after receiving a referral to send a request for your signed consent to evaluate your child. After you send the school your written permission, the school has 60 calendar days to complete the evaluation and hold an IEP team meeting to determine if the child is eligible for special education services. After that, the school has an additional 30 days in which to complete an IEP and offer placement. Sometimes the IEP team may write the IEP and offer placement in the same meeting. So you as a parent will receive plenty of information about this process. It's a good idea to start a file to keep all the information together, such as the referral letter, copies of evaluations, copy of the IEP, your child's emergency contact information, etc., etc. You may contact WISB or Wisconsin Facets to receive a blue parent record file to keep all of your information in. There are tabs, dividers provided to explain the special education process. And the folder, to note, it was originated from Iowa, and WISB produced the original folder in 1997 to assist parents to organize the materials that they received from the school. And since 2001, Wisconsin Facets and WISB have collaborated on several revisions of the dividers in the folder so that information about special education process and law are current. And as a parent who has gone through the special education process, I have to say it is definitely handy and is a good way of keeping myself organized with this. At least I know where things are at for my review before an IEP meeting, and then where to put things as I get them, and they're all right there ready to go. So it is very helpful, very useful, and would recommend. So to review, the purpose of the IEP team is to conduct the evaluation to decide if your child is eligible for special education. To be eligible, the team must answer yes to both of these questions. Does your child have an impairment? And does the child need special education services? Then the IEP team has to decide what services the child needs and writes them in the IEP. The school must hold the IEP team meeting to write the IEP within 30 days of deciding that a child is eligible for special education. And finally, the IEP team has to recommend placement of where the child will receive the services and send the parent a placement notice. The IEP team has to review the IEP and placement at least once each year. Classes and related services beyond the normal school year may be recommended by the IEP team. This is not summer school and may have a more flexible and varied schedule. These services are considered if the child may lose skills when school is out, or when emerging skills, behavior, or physical problems need to be addressed throughout the summer or other school vacation time. These services need to be written in the IEP. And you can go to DPI to look up ESY for more information and the DPI Bulletin 10.02 on ESY. If you have a problem, try talking to the school staff. Sometimes you may not agree with the decisions of the IEP team. So try these options. Ask someone for advice. Write a letter to the school. Ask for another IEP team meeting. And you may ask for a trained facilitator who does not work for the school or mediation to help both parties find a solution. Both you and the school must agree to use mediation, and it is free. There's also talking it out. Say, can you help me understand or make a suggestion? Would you be willing to try coming with more positive and giving options instead of demanding goes a lot further on both sides. And then sometimes problems can't be solved without an outside person's help. You also have a right to formally disagree by requesting a due process hearing before a judge. If you think the school has not followed special education laws, you may file a complaint with the State Department of Public Instruction, which is referred to on page 8 in the Introduction to Special Education booklet. All children deserve an educational program that helps them to become the best that they can be. Remember, you are a full and equal partner through the entire special education process. Be sure and know your rights in the special education process and the people with whom you can work with to best meet your child's needs. For more information about the special education process and IEP team meetings, please refer to Special Education in Plain Language or Introduction to Special Education. And for more information, you can contact WISPE. Here is the statewide number, the 715 number, but you can also go to the WISPE website and find your CISA contact person. Wisconsin Facets, ALAS is Alianza, I guess Spanish-speaking community in the Milwaukee area, and then Disability Rights Wisconsin. I also would like to just quickly take a moment. On the Wisconsin Facets website, under Resources, you can find Special Ed in Plain Language and Introduction to Special Education, as well as other resources here. WISPE website has great resources also, and under IEP, you can find the video, Introduction to Special Education, IEP the movie, an interactive version of Special Ed in Plain Language. Under the Department of Ed is IDEA, if you'd like more information, or the text of the IDEA. Also, sorry, a lot of resources, but the parentcenterhub.org, which is Center for Parent Information and Resources, has wealth of information on IDEA federally. And then if you have any questions with RTI, response to intervention, here's the National RTI Network, or you can also look for the Wisconsin RTI Center, and you can find information specific to Wisconsin. Nice. Thank you so much for attending today's webinar. If you have any questions, feel free to type them in the question or chat box, or you can raise your hand by pressing the little icon on the side and I can unmute you. At the moment, I will stop the recording.